What is going on, Guardians? Ember here with another one for you. Today, we're making an Arc Titan build with Point Contact Cannon Brace. They made some changes to it for this new season, Season 21, and there are some incredible artifact mods that just take this build to the next level. Before we get into it, though, head down below this video, absolutely obliterate that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to stick around at the end of the video for an original meme. And without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, Guardians, let's get into this build here. We have a lot to go over, so I'm going to try and keep it as brief as possible, but it is incredibly strong. We're centering it around the Point Contact Cannon Brace here. These are gauntlets that use your Thunderclap melee for Arc Titan. It's incredibly powerful. They just buffed it this season, and it performs very, very well. So let's talk about the perk here. Hammer of the Gods. Defeating targets with your Thunderclap melee restores melee energy. Targets near you, when you use your Thunderclap, suffer lightning strikes and become jolted. Being amplified increases the damage of these lightning strikes. So, defeating targets with your Thunderclap melee restores melee energy. We're going to get a little bit of energy back when we defeat targets. And we do have, you'll notice here, 2 melee kickstarts and a heavy-handed mod. So these are the most important mods with the build. The rest of the mods you can pretty much fill in how you like, but these ones right here are key to making sure you have that Thunderclap up always, anytime you need it. So as long as you hit 3 or more enemies with your Thunderclap, you should get the entire thing back, because with these 2 melee kickstarts, as long as you do have your armor charge to an appropriate level, you'll get it back almost instantly. But also using heavy-handed here, your powered melee final blows create orbs of power. So you're going to grab that, and it is going to help feed right back into this loop using your melee kickstarts and getting more Thunderclaps off. It is very fun to get into. So let's go into our exotic weapon of choice here. Centrifuse. This is the new seasonal exotic. It's very, very fun. It's almost like an arc sunshot. So the intrinsic trait on it, overcharge capacitor. Sprinting, sliding, and firing this weapon builds a temporary electrostatic charge, increasing range and reload speed. Final blows with high charge cause explosions, and maximum charge explosions will blind targets. That's really important for your survivability. Keep those enemies unable to target you. That is very helpful. We're going to talk about this trait up here, regenerative motion. Sprinting gradually reloads this weapon, and that helps because when you do have to reload it, you lose your entire overcharge meter. It goes all the way away when you reload it. So while sprinting, it's going to keep reloading the weapon, and that feeds right back into it. I don't have the catalyst yet, but I do know what it does. It's called static buildup. While amplified, this weapon slowly gains overcharge. So you won't have to be moving around the whole time anymore. You don't really have to be constantly moving, even though it does help. You don't have to think about it the whole time, and that helps just for a little bit more ease of use. Let's get into the subclass here. We're using Thunder Crash. We're not using Courier of the Falling Star, of course, since we're using these gauntlets. However, there is a perk in the artifact that is going to help us with our damage for the Thunder Crash as well. The abilities we're using are Towering Barricade, Strafe Lift, of course our Thunderclap, and we're using Lightning Grenades. Lightning Grenades specifically for the Touch of Thunder aspect here. Lightning Grenades gain an additional charge and jolt targets hit by the initial blast. So we get 2 charges and they're going to jolt. That's very fantastic. We're using Knockout as well. Critically wounding a target or breaking their shield infuses your melee attacks with arc energy. Pay attention to that. When we get a melee with that either critically wounds, breaks a shield, kills a target, we're gonna get arc energy infused into our melees. So pay attention to that when we get into our artifact mods. But it's going to increase our melee range and damage for a short time. This is also important. Defeating targets with melee attacks starts health regeneration and makes you amplified. So that's how we're getting amplified as quickly as possible. The fragments we have going on here, we have Spark of Discharge. Arc weapon final blows have a chance to create an ionic trace. Spark of Amplitude, rapidly defeating targets while you are amplified, creates an orb of power. Spark of Recharge, while critically wounded, your melee and grenade energy regenerates more quickly. And our Spark of Resistance, while surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. let's go into our artifact here. This is where it gets crazy. We have authorized mods arc and authorized mods melee. Those are going to help us just to have a little bit more energy in our build so we can really kit this thing out exactly how we want it. We also have electric armor, stay amplified longer while your arc subclass is equipped. Thunderous retort, and this is where we help our super damage out. Grants bonus arc super damage if cast while critically wounded or while amplified. Lasts until the end of the super activation. So that's going to really help us since we don't have Couriers of the Falling Star on. We're still going to have pretty big damage. We're also using Amped Up. Gain damage resistance while amplified. That's very important. And then we do have 2 perks here in this last slot that I don't have. But when you're able to unlock these, it's going to take this build to the next level. Lightning strikes twice. After throwing an arc grenade, gain increased grenade recharge for a short time. Arc final blows extend the duration of this benefit. And also, the cherry on top, shock and awe, arc final blows while you're amplified summon a burst of lightning that damages and jolts targets. So that should work with our melee. Once we get that first melee kill, it's going to infuse our melee with arc energy. So now we're going to kind of have a pseudo thunderclap almost with our arc melee, not counting any of our weapon kills or just the thunderclap in general. It's going to be huge, huge damage. Let's take a look at just the general mod setup I have here.
What are you doing?
I found this works out pretty well for me. And without further ado, let's get into some of that gameplay and check out just how this works. Alright, so let's talk about the changes they made to Point Contact Cannon Brace. First off, they are making the lightning bolts that strike around it deal 200 damage each rather than 50. And if you are amplified, that's going to increase them to a whopping 300 damage each. That is a ton of damage. These lightning strikes are now going to jolt as well. So on top of that, we're getting huge jolt numbers on all of the enemies caught inside. It makes it so easy to clear a room. You just saw that right there. A brace punch into a regular punch just cleared the entire room. You jolt a target that's an orange bar, they're an easy 1 punch away. I seriously love the changes they made to this exotic. It really feels like this is how it should have shipped in the first place. You know, being one of those seasonal exotics that they add. I mean, the power level on it initially was just not there. I'm excited about it now. It's so strong. Now let's talk about the new seasonal weapon. Centrifuse is incredibly powerful as well. It synergizes quite nicely with the Thunderclap. You know, if they're close enough to you, you can Thunderclap any of those enemies. If they're too far away, you use Centrifuse and you're able to still clear all those ads with huge arc explosions. Using your Thunderclap, if you don't get all of your energy back right away, you know, something like the shotgun I have here, the Imperial Decree with Pugilist and Swashbuckler on it, just so you can continue the extra damage with Swashbuckler, but also to get that melee energy back pretty quickly. You know, if I don't get it right away, a kill or 2 with my shotgun is more than enough.
Oh yeah!
And I really just cannot say enough good things about these artifact mods. They're allowing us to do some insanely powerful things here that we would definitely not be able to do otherwise. But what is insane to me is when you're getting into those final levels of the artifact, getting shock and awe, those arc final blows, while you're amplified summoning a burst of lightning that damages and jolts targets. It's kind of like having a pocket Thunderlord almost. I mean, once we're able to unlock that, this build is going to just be absolutely nuts. So if you have those unlocked, give this a try. It will not let you down. And honestly, I don't really see any downsides with this build. You're still getting the extra power from your super with the mod and the artifact. It's crazy. You're still dealing that damage. You don't need to have Couriers of the Falling Star on. And even though Thunderclap takes a little bit to charge up, you can lose a little bit of health while you're doing it. We have those fragments that give us extra regeneration for our health once we do get those kills. Anyway, that's going to be all for me for today, Guardians. Let's go ahead and throw that meme up on the screen now. If you did enjoy this video, Guardians, go ahead and slap it with a like, but either way, until next time, be without form, swift as lightning.